Can we expand our industry and also keep traffic under control in city skylines too? We have many unemployed citizens, but we also want to grow. Let's try to accomplish both without creating a traffic bottleneck. We'll return to challenging terrain while we build in the foothills. Our California shrubland is the perfect backdrop. We'll also improve traffic flow to keep those industrial trucks moving. My name is College Builder, your friendly college dean. This is episode 18 of Marathon Cove, a region inspired by Southern California. To start, we're returning to our very first district. It's been 17 episodes and nearly a year since we built this railway crossing, and it's bothered me ever since. Today, we're finally tearing it down and building something that actually fits our growing region. Here in the Energy Corridor, an at-grade crossing is more realistic, as it predates the industrial boom. Even as we welcome more trucks, we know we can still manage the occasional slowdown with ease. Now, here's where things get really interesting. See our original compact diamond design? It creates intersection bottlenecks during periods of peak traffic. This is exactly the kind of traffic nightmare we need to avoid. But I've got a much more efficient solution in mind. Watch this transformation unfold. First, we're building these sweeping loops for a partial cloverleaf design. This will completely change how traffic moves through here. Notice how I'm making the merge lanes perfectly symmetrical on opposite sides of the highway. To do this, I use temporary guide roads to place the nodes where I want them. And finally, the moment you've been waiting for, we add these last crucial ramps that tie everything together. Let's hope this interchange redesign will be able to handle the influx of industrial traffic. Give me your thoughts in the comments, and please leave a like on the video. But here's the thing, our unemployment rate is through the roof, and we are facing a crisis. To fix it, we'll need to become an industrial powerhouse. We're talking hundreds of new positions, and the ripple effects will transform our entire economy. The fuel plant is a unique industrial signature building and brings with it over 400 jobs. This will have an incredible impact on the region, considering we have built so few industrial buildings. Adding the pharma industrial signature building will create another 100 positions and boost citywide efficiency. Now, here's where our industrial strategy takes off. We've got all this prime valley space, and our unemployment numbers are still way too high. Time to fill this area with smaller manufacturing and warehouse buildings that'll create the perfect industrial ecosystem. These smaller buildings create this beautiful industrial rhythm against our massive signature facilities. That's exactly the visual variety we want. Now for the spacing strategy. This is crucial. See how I'm placing these medium and large manufacturing buildings with deliberate gaps between them. This breathing room makes everything look so much more realistic than that wall-to-wall industrial sprawl you might be tempted to build. The spacing creates natural flow patterns for trucks and gives each facility its own identity. This looks much better than cramming everything together, right? Our industrial district is pumping out jobs like crazy. But now comes my favorite part, making this place look absolutely incredible. Here's where we transform functional into phenomenal. I'm pulling out Sully's riverbed surfaces to create something really special. Watch this. We're going to layer dirt and sparse grass around each building to tell the story of industrial impact. See how this creates that authentic look where heavy industry has naturally degraded the surrounding land? This is environmental storytelling at its finest. Now I'm adding some contrast with these gorgeous grass and flower surfaces from Gaga XM's Terrain Surfaces pack. The beauty is in the balance. Industrial grit meets natural resilience. And here comes the finishing touches. Small wild bushes and scattered flowers that show nature fighting back. Look how these little details completely transform the atmosphere. Every single element we're placing serves a purpose. We're not just building an industrial zone, we're crafting a piece of Southern California that feels lived in, weathered, and absolutely authentic. This is how you make functional infrastructure into visual poetry. Here's my philosophy when it comes to industrial builds. It's all about finding that sweet spot between what the game wants and what makes visual sense. I'm constantly following the data trail: production numbers, vacant jobs, unemployment rates. The numbers don't lie, and they guide every placement decision. But here's where it gets interesting. I'm also thinking in layers of history. Every region has a story, and that story shapes how I build. Picture Marathon Cove. Early settlers struck gold and oil right here in this valley. That discovery sparked a massive industrial boom, people flooding in for work, rapid development, and demand for more services. But then something beautiful happened. Those same people who came for jobs, they fell in love with this landscape. Over time, tourism started overtaking industry as the economic driver. That's the story we're building into every detail. The industrial legacy that shaped this place and the natural beauty that ultimately defined it. Hopefully, we are creating a city that feels like it has decades of real history behind it. And look at these results. We've absolutely crushed our employment goals. We're sitting at under 4% unemployment, which is honestly incredible. I'm usually comfortable running cities at 8 to 10% unemployment. Time for some final touches. These low-density office buildings are going to blend beautifully with our warehouse aesthetic. Now, I'm noticing we've got parking everywhere, so let's remove unnecessary roadside parking where we have plenty of alternatives. But our train commuters need some love. Adding a pedestrian bridge over these tracks is going to cut their commute time significantly. Small detail, huge impact. And here's where the success story really gets exciting. With unemployment this low, we've created something amazing: housing demand. Citizens are desperate to move to the area and take these open jobs. Time to return to the crown jewel of our region, Verano, and those absolutely stunning hillside estates. Over the past few episodes, we've been sculpting these mountains into something truly special: authentic Southern California luxury living. Think of the winding roads we've carved through impossible terrain. This is where engineering meets artistry, and honestly, I'm pretty proud of what we've accomplished. We've got citizens with serious money looking for premium housing, and these hills are calling their names. So we're going back to our proven formula: let the mountain tell us where to build. This is the method I've refined over multiple hillside builds. Step 1, terrain tools. We're carving out flat platforms. Now for the magic: roads. I'm using the complex curve tool to snake these streets along the contours. Here's where builders sometimes make a mistake. They leave harsh terrain edges. Watch this. I'm softening everything with gentle slopes. This creates that natural, organic look, like these homes have been here for decades. Housing selection is crucial here. For Verano's luxury market, I'm mixing Southeast USA and UK region packs. The waterfront properties work beautifully also. And the beautiful thing? Once you nail this first terrace, you just climb higher and repeat. But here's where we're going to create something absolutely breathtaking: a pedestrian bridge. Watch this placement. Getting the pillar positioned just right creates a dramatic suspension bridge. And look at these views. This is exactly why we're building those premium mansions right here. Now, the top of the hill is screaming for something special. This bridge is going to draw people from around the hills, so let's give them a destination worth the walk. Here's one of my favorite techniques. We'll start with a pocket park and playground. Then we completely customize the terrain underneath. By removing those standard surfaces and creating our own natural layers, we transform this from city park to mountain retreat. It's all about making it feel like we discovered this perfect spot rather than built it. Layers of moss, dirt, and grass enhance the natural beauty. Gaga XM surfaces work perfectly. And here's the finishing touch: strategic tree and bush placement that says we preserve the best of nature while adding just enough civilization to make it perfect. Now here's where we move beyond just technique into design philosophy. This is just my approach to hillside development, but I think it works well. I call this contextual design. Instead of imposing our will on the landscape, we're having a conversation with it. The mountain tells us where it wants to be developed, and our job is to listen. Look at real hillside communities: Malibu, the Hollywood Hills, Tuscany. None of them follow rigid city guides. They flow, they adapt, they feel like they've always belonged there. Sometimes I'll create multiple terraces that don't line up perfectly, and that's exactly the point. Real topography isn't uniform, so why should our development be? Here's my golden rule for contextual design: follow the mountain's lead. Some areas want to be flat terraces with grand estates. Others are telling you to work with the slope itself, space out the houses, vary the depths, and let them climb naturally up the hillside. As we go higher, the terraces get smaller, more intimate. Maybe we create little spurs that branch off in different directions. It's all about reading what the terrain is offering you. The magic happens when you step back and it looks organic, like nature and human development found perfect harmony. That's when you know you've nailed it. Now, as we're carving up these hills with our residential development, we must think strategically about road hierarchy. And this is where many hillside builders completely mess up their traffic flow. Look at what we're creating here. Yes, you're seeing lots of local streets, dead ends, cul-de-sacs, intimate residential roads, but here's the key. Every single one of these feeds intelligently back to our collector roads. Now, I do put some houses on collectors. That's realistic. But whenever possible, I keep those collector roads clear of driveways. Why? Because these are our arteries, carrying traffic smoothly down the mountain. Here's how I visualize road networks. Forget the grid system entirely. Think of it like a tree. Your main artery is the trunk, and then you have these organic branches weaving off in different directions, getting smaller and smaller as they reach the hillside's extremities. The secret is flow. Every car needs a clear path back to the main trunk without hitting bottlenecks or confusing intersections. That's why I try to avoid 4-lane intersections on hillsides, at least when possible. Keep it simple, keep it flowing, keep it logical. This isn't just about pretty roads. This is about creating transportation network with good citizen flow. To continue with the visual, if the roads and streets are limbs and branches, the houses are the leaves, filling out the rest of the tree. Here's where I'm going to demonstrate something that perfectly illustrates both the current state of City Skylines 2 and where we're headed as a community. I'm placing this baseball field decal, and yes, it's purely decorative. No functionality, no citizen happiness boost. But here's exactly why I'm doing it anyway. This is what I call future-proofing your vision. I'm designing for the game we're going to have, not just the game we have today. When custom assets arrive, and they will, your cities and regions are going to transform overnight. Picture replacing this placeholder with a fully functioning baseball diamond, complete with bleachers and all the citizen interactions we're anticipating. The Leisure Venues Content Creator Pack demonstrated exactly what's possible when developers and the members of our community take their time to get it right. Those assets and packs didn't just add content, they elevated the entire gameplay experience. And those new piers and keys from the recent update? I've been experimenting with them, and I can already envision how they're going to revolutionize our waterfront development in Marathon Cove. This represents the beauty of being part of a game that's still evolving. We're not just players, we're co-creators, building communities that will grow alongside the game itself. So tell me, where do you think we should implement those new bridges and waterfront assets? Your suggestions help inspire my most successful builds. Can you see how our hillside terraces are building out the visual image of a tree? The central 2-lane road that goes up the mountainside forms our trunk. The smaller alleys that curve out form the branches. The houses give us the leaves. We are continuing to build our terraces, following the general direction of the mountain, working our way up higher and higher towards the top. The terraces give us the perfect place to build our residential development. Here's a tip I use. I often make each terrace 9 to 10 meters above the one below it. Each line on the map represents 1 meter, and the bold lines represent 10 meters. By following this general principle, you can create something that rises naturally. Of course, this is just a rule of thumb, and it doesn't always work. For more gentle hills, fewer meters might be appropriate. For steep mountains, you might need something different altogether. And of course, this is just a general guide. For the hillside of Verano, we have gone up and down in all directions to make something that fits the context. Here at the very top for today's video, we are going to place some of our biggest mansions yet. I imagine this land will be the most expensive and have the best views. Living near the top is for the very elite, and they will certainly pay for their seclusion. I am so curious to learn how you build on challenging terrain like mountains and hills. If you have your own tips, please leave them in the comments and I will try to work them into a future video. Before we wrap up, we have some detailing and cleanup to do, especially with our traffic. There are numerous small things we can do to bring this hillside development to life. For example, adding grass to our roadside will help keep away unwanted parked cars. But we have a real traffic problem. All the traffic from the hills and the nearby small towns flows down to the same busy arterial. And that arterial feeds into one super busy intersection. What once seemed like a peaceful local highway through the wine country has become too congested. The Road Builder mod allows us to create a custom segment with 3 dedicated lanes on one side. This will allow vehicles to separate depending on whether they are continuing into the Verano Center or turning to head out towards our industrial area. This is the cost of growth and development. The infrastructure that once served one population no longer meets the current needs. This busy intersection is working much better, but now we're seeing backups coming from the smaller side roads. Using the Lane Connector tool will enable us to eliminate U-turns, unsafe turns, and some problematic left-hand turns that contribute to traffic congestion. Watching the new flow, we see a definite improvement, but I dislike that the Verano cars are using local residential streets as shortcuts. We can remove a few more left-hand turns, but I don't think this will entirely solve the issue. Ultimately, the local transportation authority approves a bigger fix. We will sever the local streets from the larger avenues, thereby depriving vehicles of the shortcut. Indeed, this sometimes happens in real life, as traffic increases and local streets fail to serve their intended purpose. Making these adjustments will force heavy traffic to stay on our avenue and keep the nearby residential streets much quieter. But just down the avenue, closer to the town center, we have another problematic intersection where 3 local streets converge. Let's sever the connection next to the school, making the area safer for children and redirecting traffic back towards the collector. A few additional paths will improve the overall walkability of our hillside neighborhood. From industrial foundations to hillside communities, today we've demonstrated how thoughtful planning creates cities that actually work. Every road, every terrace, every connection serves a purpose in our growing Marathon Cove. What aspects of today's build are you most excited to try in your cities? Let me know in the comments. Your feedback will help shape our next development priorities. And be sure to follow my channel for additional videos.